Next up, we're going to take a look at the USS Prometheus. It's an interesting ship. It was a one-off in one episode of Voyager, I believe, and it was never mentioned again. Anyway, we'll get in and take a look. There we have our Prometheus-class dial. And it's a pretty maneuverable, pretty fast ship. Got that 6 forward in there. Everything but one extreme tight turns, and I think you're missing the 2s too. There we have our Prometheus class. I'm going to take back the maneuverable comment. It's kind of lacking in maneuverability, but what it lacks in that, it makes up for in speed. You got everything from a 1 reverse all the way to a 6 forward. Tight 3 turns are your only hard turns, and then you're kind of stuck mediocre with everything else. There we have our USS Prometheus, Federation faction. 5 attack, 1 agility, 4 hull, 5 shield. Very nice. 2 tech upgrades, 2 weapon upgrades, 2 crew upgrades for 30 points. You have evasive, target lock, scan, and battle station. And the named ability is as an action. If you performed a forward maneuver this round, you can immediately perform an additional 1 or 2 forward maneuver. So that adds even more to the ship's speed. Basically, you can pull a 8 forward maneuver with this ship. Do a 6 and then immediately follow it by a 2. Extremely fast. There we have our Prometheus class generic. You're losing 1 shield and you're losing 1 crew slot for 28 points. For our captains, we have Rekar, Captain skill of 5. You'll notice he's Romulan faction for 3 points. It's from the episode the Romulans actually stole the ship. When attacking with a secondary weapon, you may add +1 attack die to the attack. If you do so, discard that weapon upgrade after the attack is completed. Kind of a nice ability. Gives you more reason to take secondary weapons. Nice ability to boost one of them up at the cost that you lose the weapon for the rest of the game, but definitely a nice trade-off there. Has his uses. Next up, we have the Doctor. This is when I think they merged his emergency command hologram protocols with the Doctor ones. In the episode, they beamed him over to the ship to see what was going on. You have a Captain skill of 2 for 1 point. At the start of the combat phase, you may accept to increase your skill number. If you do so, roll 1 attack die. If you roll a hit or a crit, your captain skill is 10 until the end phase. Otherwise, your captain skill is a 0 until the end phase. Either way, you get an auxiliary power token. So if you choose to use his ability, you get an auxiliary power token, and you have a chance of getting him as a captain skill 10 for the turn. On the opposing side, he can also become a 0. So there's your reminder tokens for his 0 and 10 captain skill. The possibility of becoming a captain skill 10 is nice. Dropping to a 0 really isn't going to hurt you all that bad. With him being a 2, you're only going to be going behind the generics. Not that big of a deal. Would I take him over other stuff? For 1 point, yeah, probably over a generic, but other than that, don't see him getting a lot of use. There's better versions of the Doctor out there. And we have our generic Federation captain. Captain skill of 1 for 0 points. For crew, we have Romulan hijackers. 4 points, again, Romulan faction. While this card's assigned to your ship, you may only have a Romulan captain and Romulan crew upgrades assigned to your ship. All of your non-Borg tech and weapon upgrades cost you -1 point, which is really nice. In addition, if this card is assigned to a non-Romulan ship, you do not pay faction penalties for any of your Romulan upgrades, including this one. Really nice little bonus there. When attacking with your primary weapon, if your ship is not within range 1 to 3 of other friendly ships, during the roll attack dice step, you may disable this card to gain a +1 attack die. Lots of stuff going on that card. For 4 points, it can more than pay up for itself if you're cross-factioning on a ship. Definitely a nice upgrade there. Next, we have the EMH Mark II. For 5 points, This upgrade counts as either a crew or a tech upgrade, your choice. That's why he's got the question mark. As an action, you can discard this card to target a ship at range 1. Disable all crew upgrades on the targeted ship. Kind of a nice one. Plays well with the other Doctor, the original one, not the one that came with this expansion, but definitely useful in his own right. Great against Federation ships or anything running crew-heavy builds where you can disable multiple crewmen with a single action. And it doesn't matter if the shields are up or down, which is a huge bonus for this one. For weapon upgrades, we have standard photon torpedoes, 5 points, attack of 5, range 2 to 3, requires a target lock and a disable to perform this action. This one's different in that if it's fired from the Prometheus-class ship, you get to add +1 attack die. It can be fired from the front or rear arc. So you gain that +1 attack die on here, but you're also losing the battle station to crit ability that's normally on photon torpedoes. Still a nice card, especially if you're running it on this ship. Firing a 6 die rear attack is always entertaining. Combine this with the high yield photon torpedo resource. If you're running a build that's running a lot of photon torpedoes, and you're definitely going to get your money's worth out of this as far as points go. But overall, torpedoes are still a little bit underpowered. Don't see a lot of use in most games, but definitely a small upgrade over the standard ones. That extra die really comes in handy. And like I said, if you're using that resource to get the high yield, they definitely become viable weapons at that point. Our last weapon upgrade is probably the reason most people are going to be picking this ship up, is for the multi-vector assault mode. 8 points, 8 attack, range 1. A little disappointed in the way that they went about this. I was expecting something a little cooler for it, but not sure how I feel about the way it turned out. As an action, you can place the multi-vector assault mode token beside your ship. You cannot perform any free actions this round. As an attack, you can disable this card and spend your target lock, and spend your multi-vector assault mode token to perform this attack. You may fire this weapon in any direction, which is probably the only really positive aspect of this, that and the 8 attack, and it can only be purchased for the Prometheus-class ship. You're basically spending a turn to create the thing, a turn to get the target lock, and it's a disable, just to make a 1 strength 8 attack at range 1. Granted, it's reusable, but it's a lot of requirements to meet. The multi-vector assault mode token. During the planning phase, you can't choose a maneuver with a speed greater than 3, so you're limited there. Each time you defend, you get to roll -1 defense dice because you split your ship up. Kind of hurts you in that respect too. During the combat phase, you may perform the attack listed on the multi-vector assault mode upgrade card. We already went over that. During the end phase, you can choose to retain the multi-vector assault mode token, or you can also return it to your ship. So really the only positive you're getting out of this deal is that strength 8 attack. The limit of range 1 really hurts you. The 360-degree arc is nice, but again, you're limited to that range 1. And the penalties that you're getting to incur this just make it really rough to use for 8 points. It does have its uses. I think it can be playable, but it's a little overcosted and underpowered for what it really is. I was really hoping something for the ability to split off a token version of your ship that you could use to make a secondary attack, or even different things during the turn. Something along the lines of the Kill the Scimitar mission, where you have that little scimitar token and it moves. I was really hoping for something like that with its own stat line, you know, maybe a separate attack, so that you could fire twice, once from your main ship and once from the token. But what we got, it's interesting, just not what I was hoping for and expecting. For tech upgrades, we have ablative hull armor. 7 points, a little bit steep, but when defending during the modified defense step, convert all your opponent's criticals into hits. Place all damage cards that your ship receives beneath this card. Once there's 3 damage cards beneath this, discard this upgrade and all damage cards with it. All excess damage affects the ship as normal. This upgrade can only be purchased for the Prometheus-class ship. Kind of sucks that it's limited to this ship. 7 points is a little steep, but the ability to basically negate the first 3 criticals your ship is going to take, converting them back into normal hits, definitely has its use. If you combine this with something that can regenerate hull, you can really extend your ship's life. I don't think you can remove the damage from this, but once this is gone, you're adding an extra 3 hull basically to your hull you already have, and then you can go further from there. Definitely has its uses. 7 points, as I said, it's a bit steep, but could save you in a pinch. Next we have Regenerative Shielding. 4 points. During the planning phase, you can disable this card to repair one of your shield tokens. This upgrade costs 4 extra points for any ship other than the USS Prometheus, and no ship may be equipped with more than 1 regenerating shield upgrade. As far as being limited to this ship, that kind of sucks. 8 points is a little bit steep to put this on anything else. It can use it, especially if you're non-Federation, you're looking at 9 points. Really hinders what it can do. On this specific ship, for 4 points, you're getting a beastly little upgrade. Sure, it's a disable, but the ability to repair shields, there's very few things that can do that. Federation have a couple engineer crewmen that can, but the fact that it's reusable really is what makes it useful. You can get, with the ship's speed, you can get yourself way out of range of other people. Use this a couple turns to heal yourself back up, and then use the speed to get right back into the battle. Next we have Tactical Prototype for 4 points. You may disable this card to perform an evasive, scan, or battle stations action while you have an auxiliary power token beside your ship. Your ship must have the appropriate action on its action bar in order to use this ability, and cannot perform any free actions during the round which you use this ability. Very nice, the ability to pull off action even when you have an auxiliary power. There's so many things that give auxiliary power tokens these days that it's nice to have a way to basically get around that. The fact that it's a disable and reusable really helps it and makes it worth the points. Definitely lots of uses out there for this one. I see it getting quite a bit of use on Federation builds. For the rest of the components in the expansion, we have our 5 shields, auxiliary and critical token, the reminder tokens for the Doctor. We have our multi-vector assault mode token. There's a battle stations, evasive, and scan token. A couple disabled tokens, and target lock N2. The mission this time around is hijacked. It's from the episode that the ship comes from. And you're basically flying the Prometheus. The Romulans are trying to get away with it. The Federation are trying to stop them. There's rules for regaining control of the ship. The Romulan player wins if they destroy the Federation ship, and the Federation player wins if they destroy the Romulan player's ships. Interesting mission there. The ship itself's rather disappointing. It has a lot of the Aztecing work up on the front, but not too terribly much detail. As with all of them, definitely needs a wash or something to really bring out the paint job. At least I can say the nacelles are straight for once. They've been crooked on most of the other Federation ships, so has that going for it. There's our base for the Prometheus. 90-degree front arc, 90-degree rear arcs. Nice. And the generic Prometheus-class. Overall, it's another good expansion for the Federation. It's a pretty nice ship, pretty durable, has a decent attack value. Lacks in the maneuverability, but so does things like the Galaxy class. The Federation seem to be notorious for slow-moving boats, but they do have the shields and the firepower to make up for it. Some of the upgrades are kind of iffy. There's some good stuff there, but nothing spectacular. A lot of stuff that's good specifically on this ship, but not much else. As a Federation player, I think you're going to want to pick up one. I don't really see multiples unless you're a big fan of the ship. Some of the upgrades can't even be used on the generic, so that's kind of a personal opinion on what you think of that. Anyway, it's an interesting ship. It's kind of interesting for Romulan players too, with the Romulan hijacker card allowing you to bring on your stuff for discounts. Overall, it's a pretty good ship though. I'm a little disappointed with the multi-vector assault mode. That's about it. That's it for this one, and we'll see you in the next video.